Hi, I'm your host Vasco Duarte. Welcome to the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast, where we share tips and tricks from Scrum Masters around the world. Every day, we bring you inspiring answers to important questions that all Scrum Masters face day after day. Hello everybody, welcome to our Success Thursday. This week we have with us Sofia Katsaouni. Hey Sofia, welcome back.
Hello Vasco, good to see you again.
Likewise. And of course today is the big question day, right? Like it's the success question, the question everybody's waiting to hear the answer for. But before that, do share with us, what's your favorite retrospective format and why?
So thank you for this question. So my favorite retrospective format is the following. So there are 3 columns, let's put it that way, or 3 areas in which I encourage the team to reflect on. And that is, the first one is what happened. So what are things that happened the last X period of time, depending on how far before we are reflecting, let's say the last iteration. Then what was the impact of this thing on you? So how was that for you to experience the specific thing that happened? And then third, what are your learnings? Very simple. Many people ask me why. That's very weird. What happened? What do you mean? Many things happened, right? So especially other coaches. But the reason why I love this is because it separates. I struggle, especially the last few years that I do try to learn a lot about nonviolent communication with this right and wrong thinking or sad and happy thinking, right? Because there are so many more feelings than I'm glad about something or I'm sad about something. There is such a wider spectrum. And also some things that might happen might not be the same experience for someone, for a different person, right? So a situation might be very differently experienced from me. It might make me happy for some reason or fulfilled, and it might overwhelm you, but it's the same experience, right? We are facing the same situation. So the reason why I like this format is because it gives room to people to think of situations and the external observations that they have, right? So for example, I don't know, we released something and 3 bags appeared after. As a very easy example. And then it gives also room to show the different experiences and feelings that people have about this specific situation. And then we can really see this beauty of different experiences of the people in the team, really embrace that, really listen to each other's view, and see that actually certain situations that occur are not the same for everybody in the team, and that's totally fine, right? So we want this different experiences. We want this white canvas, let's put it that way.
Absolutely. And something that you said, which I think is super important for us, we've talked about NVC here on the podcast before, and there's quite a few episodes on that topic. But this separation of what has happened, i.e. what I observed, there are interpretations, of course, but yes. it tries to focus on detailing like the sequence of events or the sequence of observations, and then separating that from how it impacts me, right? And of course, when we do it with the team, that mix of the different perspectives then creates the impact on the team, right? And I think that's a very important aspect also, because at least that's the idea. It gets us out of the blame game, right? Because this is what I saw. Right? That's a different conversation from this is how I felt.
Exactly. And even phrasing it as this was very bad, what happened, right? And then connecting this with the observations. And this was one of my biggest learnings. If I can take a couple of minutes to share this story, because it's very important for me. It was huge learning for me. When I did this retro with one of my teams, it was a situation where they had released the MVP of the product they were working on. So it was their first release, right? Getting the MVP out there. And we had a retrospective, and one of the team, so there were some bugs, of course, because that's what happens, right? In every release, there is something like that. That's very normal in software development. And one of the team members actually said, so I think most of us would consider bugs a negative thing, right? We might be overwhelmed, stressed about it. We really want to fix them, which is true. Of course, we want to fix them. But one of the team members that they said, he was actually very happy because the fact that people right away were reporting bugs meant that people wanted to use the product. And that for him meant that the work they were doing is very valuable. There are people wanting to use that. So that brought such fulfillment to this person. And imagine now how the rest of the team was opening up at that point. What a wide smile we all had on our face. And we're like, yeah, actually, that's true. What a great thing that we have bugs after our first release. That means people want to really use the thing we have been working on for a few months, right? So that was amazing. So for me to also witness as a coach.
Yeah, absolutely. And in that situation, it would be so easy to get into this circle of sadness, right? And then when somebody expresses a different impact, right? A different impact that event of having bugs from an MVP would have, then of course we as you said, the team opens up to the possibility that this is actually a good thing. It's not a bad thing.
Exactly. Yes.
All right. So that was the retro, but of course we are here also to talk about success and what that means for you. So Sofia, share with us, what's your definition of success for a Scrum Master?
So what I always almost say to my teams is that I'm successful when I become obsolete, which of course never happens, but it's a goal worth trying to reach. And by that, what I mean is that for me, it's important that I support my teams, right, and the people there in the organization, but I don't become a dependency that then can block the team or the people, right? So I want to enable them, to support them, to help them in the best way possible so that then they can do also the things by themselves, right? Of course, as we said earlier, or in a different episode, an organization is a living system, a team is a living system, so many things change, which means different attention or different aspect of things would be needed from the Scrum Master or the coach. So in that sense, I'm saying we might never reach this obsolete state, because change happens all the time, right? Things change all the time. But this is what I would say. So becoming obsolete.
So you talked about some very specific things, like making sure we don't become a dependency for the team, right? That they don't lean on us too much, so that they can take ownership. And also the aspect of, because a team is a living system, things change over time, and it might not be possible to become obsolete as the, let's call it, North Star, but that also calls on us to validate what are the changes happening, right? Like either through the retrospectives or one-on-one conversations or through observation, to figure out what those changes are and for us to adapt to those changes. So those are two aspects. What other aspects do you use in your regular reflection as an Agile coach and a Scrum Master to validate that, yes, I'm indeed still progressing towards that ideal of, eventually, if all things go right, becoming obsolete?
Yeah. So one of the things that I puts a smile on my face, let's put it that way, is when I coach teams and people, and I tell them certain things, right? As an example, I tell them to look at their Kanban board or Scrum board from right to left, right? So they start the conversation that way. They don't start from the to-do column, but from the right, which might be the, QA or review, and then they move left, right? So that then they can move the things that way. One of the things that happens is often after a while, I hear people in the team say those things. Like I hear them say, okay, let's start actually. And then if they start a different way that they had in mind, someone might say, but maybe let's look from the right side of the board, because this can bring us this value, right? As we have discussed before. Or when someone says, okay, what is our priorities for today in a planning, for example, right? So what are we focusing on next now that we know what we have achieved the previous sprint? So questions I would normally ask to try to bring the team together and try to bring focus to them. And then I see these questions coming from within the team, from anyone in the team. It could be the PM, it could be a developer. This is when I'm like, okay, this seems to be working to some extent, right? So something is landing in people's brain and is integrated now, and they are actually living it and supporting each other. So even if I'm not here, these questions would still be asked. Someone from the team would, or multiple people from the team would pull the team together, right? So that they can together move forward.
Yeah, I really like that because it also illustrates something we talk about on the podcast every now and then, which is this idea of modeling the behavior we want the team to have, right? And when the team starts asking the questions we would have asked, that really means that they have understood the modeling concept, that we go there and we do something not because we need to do it, but because it helps the team get to where they want to get. And the story you just shared is a great example, a great illustration of that modeling behavior that we need to take into account.
Yeah, exactly.
Great story. Thank you for sharing, Sofia.
Thank you so much, Vasco.
Part of a successful Scrum Master job is to help the product owner. Tomorrow we explore that critical role in Scrum, the product owner role. Tune in to learn about product owner anti-patterns, what you can do to help the product owner, and a real-life example of what a great product owner is and what made it so. Tomorrow on our Friday Product Owner episode. See you tomorrow. We really hope you liked our show. And if you did, why not rate this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes? Share this podcast and let other Scrum Masters know about this valuable resource for their work. Remember that sharing is caring.